YouTube. It is your boy Freakeasy Gaming, and in today's video, I'm gonna show you guys, well, tell you guys one of my worst fears. But while playing a game, that's probably one of the worst fears I could probably come up with. It's about possessed dolls trying to kill you. It's a new DLC for Killing Floor called Toy Master, and it's absolutely scary. A bunch of fucking dolls try to kill you. They sort of all look like this. They're really fucking creepy, and they're just really, really damn scary. So with that said, I guess I gotta begin where this fear all started about dolls. Sort of any doll really freaks me out, you know, whether it be a porcelain doll, but it has to be a creepy looking doll. It can't be a nice looking doll, you know. I'm not that irrationally afraid of them, but there are people who are completely afraid of any form of doll. And as I was saying, these dolls sort of creep me out. Porcelain dolls, anything like that. Now, where this fear all started was when I was a young boy. I was about 7 or 8, I believe, when I first watched this movie. And my parents sort of had gone to work. My dad went to work before my mom, so my dad was already gone. And my mom just left for work. And my mom told me never to grab a movie off the third row. If you guys don't know what the third row is in my house, we used to have a bunch of shelves, 1, 2, and 3. And on these shelves were sort of a bunch of movies. Now, I was told never to grab anything off the third row because those were all the adult movies were. Not porn or anything like that. Sort of all these horror movies. Movies that I couldn't watch without either of my parents' permission. Just completely horrible horror movies, you know, stuff like that. And I'm sitting there, I want to watch a movie, you know, I'm a kid. I watched a lot of movies while they were at work. And I'm sitting here looking at this shelf. And I'm looking at the first row, nothing on it. I remember this very vividly too. Second row, nothing on it. I remember looking at the third row. You know, the first 2 rows were kids' movies. I remember looking at the third row, like I want to watch a movie from the third row. And I'm like, but I can't. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a movie called Child's Play. I'm like, ooh, Child's Play. That's got to be for kids. I look on it. It has a doll in there. You know, he's smiling. He's got a little thing right here. He wasn't smiling. It was a knife. You know, if you guys don't know what Child's Play is, it's about a serial killer doll known as Charles Lee Ray. They call him Chucky in the movie, and he's absolutely fucking scary, especially to children. Well, especially to me at that point in time. Now, I grabbed the movie, popped it in, and I remember being scared while I watched the movie. I remember watching bits and pieces of the movie, and this doll is a fucking serial killer who's trying to possess a kid named Andy at any cost, and anybody who gets in his way dies. And this movie absolutely fucking traumatized me. I am still scared of dolls till this day because of that movie. And, you know, that's not why the fear sort of became one of my worst fears. Here's sort of why it became one of my worst fears. And I'm going to let you guys know. And I've never told anybody this story until right now. Now, what this is when I was about 15 or 16, you know, I sort of didn't believe at dolls. You know, I was older now. You know, I didn't think there was possessed dolls in the world. You know, I just thought it was all movie magic. You know, horror movies and stuff like that. But the idea was still there, you know, sort of. Maybe there could be possessed dolls. Maybe there is possessed dolls out there, you know. Maybe no one's found them yet, you know. I was 15 or 16 at the time. Had some pretty weird ideas. Sort of still believe that till today, you know. Maybe there is something out there that nobody has explained yet, you know. Science hasn't proved it. Science hasn't disproved it, you know. Anything's possible in this universe with everything that we're discovering about the, you know, world every day, you know. Nothing seems impossible anymore. So why shouldn't this, you know? I was about 15 or 16, and I was told to watch my nephew. Now, my nephew was 1 at the time. And it was my sister's son. Yeah, my sister's son, you know, my nephew. And then, my parents went out with my sister. They said they were only going to be about an hour to 30 minutes, you know, and I just had to watch them for an hour to 30 minutes. So, you know, I'm like, okay, I could do that. You know, I thought they were going to be back pretty soon. They wound up being on for like an hour and 30 minutes or something like that. Don't really remember, but it was over an hour. You know, I'm watching them, you know, 15, 16, I could take care of myself. I could take care of him, you know. She showed me how to take care of him. You know, he already ate and stuff, and he was just gonna sit there and watch a movie on the television. It wasn't like a horror movie or anything like that. It was like a Yo Gabba Gabba. It was for children, you know, sort of like a movie with a bunch of child's music and stuff like that. You know, something for children to watch. And as he's watching this movie, I need to go to the bathroom. I could tell that he's totally drawn in by the movie, and you know, I'm not gonna take my nephew to the bathroom with me because that's some weird shit, and I don't want to wind up on any kind of list of any kind whatsoever. Now, as he's watching the movie, you know, I sort of sneak away to go to the bathroom by myself, and I go to the bathroom, and this is what happens. I'm in the bathroom. There was no baby monitor or anything like that, and I sort of wish there was, because this is sort of fucking weird what happened next, and this is sort of what skyrocketed the fear sort of into the next dimension, I guess you could say, to the point where it becomes irrational, and I had to take action, but I'll let you guys in on it. Here it is. What happened was, I was in the bathroom, I was washing my hands, I had just opened the door to go back to the living room where he was watching TV, or where he's watching his Yo Gabba Gabba movie, and I opened the door, and as soon as I open the door, I hear BOOM! Sorry, headphone users. A big ass fucking slam, a door. Come to find out, it was a door. It was my sister. It was the room to my sister's door. It was the door to my sister's room that slammed. I run over there. I run in the living room. I look around, and the only door that's closed is the door to my sister's room. Now, the only room that's closed is the door to my sister's room, and I sort of open it. But as I'm opening it, before I open it, I could hear like sort of weird little wispy voices, you know. He's one at the time, he can't really talk. And I walk in there, and sort of in the middle of the floor is him and this doll that we had. Now, my parents had two dolls in the living room, and they sort of both sat on a small little tiny bench. You know, they were dolls, they sort of all sat on the bench. And I went in there, and he's sitting there with one of them. I look over at the bench, because the bench is not too far from my sister's room. And I look over into the living room, and I see the bench, and only one of the dolls is on it. I look back, and there's the doll right there, you know, with my nephew. And my nephew's one, you know, he obviously couldn't pick up the doll. He's obviously too weak. He's 1 year old. And so I pick him up. I sort of look at the doll, you know, I sort of back off. You know, I have him in my hands. I sort of take him to the living room, put him down, you know, make him watch his movie. You know, he's watching it. He's happy again. And then I go back to the room, and I grab the second doll that was sitting on the bench, and I put him in there, and I closed that door as hard as I could, you know, not slammed or anything, but I just made sure it was, you know, tight, that it wouldn't open with anybody pushing on it. And after that, you know, my parents and my sister sort of returned home. You know, it was sort of freaked me out, and I've never told anyone this story except for you guys. And they asked me, hey, why is the dolls in the room? And I'm like, oh, well, the baby kept on grabbing him. I didn't want him to pull the doll on himself and hurt himself. And they're like, okay. And later that night, I had one of the worst nightmares of my life. And it was sort of went on for the whole week. I had a dream about the dolls coming into my room and murdering me. Sort of worse than it was before. Sort of horrible fucking dreams about these dolls. You know, killing my family, killing my nephew baby and shit, killing my sister and everything like that, killing everyone who basically lived in the house, and that's sort of where it got out of hand. And after about three of those dreams, I took the dolls outside and I threw them in the fucking trash can. I threw the bench away, I threw everything in the trash can, and my dad wound up finding them, because he's the one who took the trash out primarily. He wound up finding them, and he wound up asking me, why'd you throw the dolls away? And I told him I didn't tell him what had happened. I told him that I was scared of him, and I sort of had a fear of him. And he's like, hey, you don't have to be scared of them, you know, they're just dolls and stuff like that. They're not really gonna hurt you. You know, that's just movies and shit like that. And you know, it was kind of scary. You know, that's sort of where the fear all began, and that's one of my worst fears is dolls, you know, being possessed and shit. And well, anyway, my dad left the dolls in the trash can, and nobody really ever asked questions like that again, and no creepy shit happened throughout the house after that. You know, I had no more nightmares. You know, there was no more doors closing on their own and shit like that. But yeah, that's probably one of my worst fears is possessed dolls. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please drop that like, comment, and subscribe. If you did enjoy the video, it really does help the channel grow. Anyways, it's been your boy Freaky Gaming. I love each and every single one of you. I will see you guys right back here tomorrow. And remember, stay freaky. Yeah. Mission complete, bitch.